Yeah! Hello and welcome to this Warno 2v2 game played on loop, which was my favourite 1v1 map before they destroyed this forest and took it out of rotation. Today we've got 8 TD Jesus and 8 Biohazard Brado against 8 Nightfox and 8 Fender Strat. NATO versus NATO. So we'll go through the deck reviews and then we'll talk about the map, the matchup, the deployments, and then the game. And as always, timestamps in the description. Right, so these are the deck reviews for Nightfox and Fender Strat, who are on one team there. And they're playing MBAD and the Dutch. Basically, you know, when you think about team games, this is clearly some sort of in-house because they've all got the same clan tag. You really need to think about how you synergize with your teammate, right? It's not a 1v1 anymore. The best team players synergize with their teammates. So the first thing you can do is, so Loop used to be a 1v1 map, right? It can be played 2v2, no problem. But it used to be a 1v1 map, and so you need to think about CV numbers. This is something I always harp out on about because it's so important. You don't need 10 million CVs if you're playing a 1v1 map as a 2v2, because your teammate can get some, you can get some, and that allows you to upvet more of your units, bring more cool stuff, right? So if you look between these two decks, I mean, we should probably start at the very beginning, which is the matchup is 4th Dutch and MBAD. So they've gone for one airborne, one armored, which, yeah, it can make sense. I mean, if you really want to win this map, you want to play Pact, because the Pact is just better in team games anyway, unless you do like a really aggressive strat as NATO, as in like you know, best players in the game as NATO, really aggressive strat, always cutting down the ranges with smoke and so on. You're gonna struggle against the cost efficiency of Pact, the better long range AA of Pact, and the longer range ATGMs of Pact, and the like you get more bombers as Pact, you get better fighters as Pact. It's pretty silly, just across the and the better rocket RT, right? Grad spam. Across the board, Pact is stronger than NATO in team. But if you like really top level players, it starts to not matter so much, which is why you still see, because people always say, well, in tournaments, NATO still gets played and still wins, right? I mean, you saw that tournament game me and Skull played against a Wooden Box and Bear Thags, and me and Skull were playing second UK and second Panzergren, and a Wooden Box and Bear Thags were playing 56Y and 25Y, right? So divs that should have an advantage, particularly 56Y, and we won. But you know, that's a lot of it is to do with, well, if you're just better at NATO divs, you know, if you've played the NATO divs more, then you should play something you're good at rather than something that is optimal, which you haven't played, so you won't be very good at it. So this can work one airborne, one armored, and then yeah, the MBAD can like substitute, give a bunch of forward deployed at the start and do cool stuff with it. So you know, we're not going to go through every single unit because we'd be here all day. But the first thing is the CV count, right? So you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 CVs. If you were playing loop in a 1v1, would you bring 13 CVs? No, you wouldn't. You'd bring 7. So why are you bringing 13, you know? So you can afford to swap some of these out, right? Depending on which ones you want to swap out. Like this, one of these infantry ones can go here easily. And then it's always nice to have an armored CV. Actually, there's even more. There's 15. No, hang on, that's not. There's 13. One of the armored ones can go. One of the infantry ones can go. It can be useful to have this because you. Well, yeah. I keep. So you can get rid of this one because you've got a better version here with 3. And then, so let's say you make those changes, right? So that would be 3, 4, 5 CVs here because this would be gone. And then you know, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'd still have 9, right? You could even get rid of this genie and only have 7. But yeah, nine's decent in a 2v2 because the map is more cramped. There tends to be more artillery, more sniping of CVs. So it's always worth having a few more than you would bring in a 1v1. But you don't need 13, right? So that's the first thing to mention. And then from that, so it's about specialities and stuff, right? So MBAD doesn't get good artillery, and there's no point trying to fix that by buying 8 of these. They're just bad. They just aren't good. So if I was in MBAD's position, I would actually get rid of both of these, right? And then focus more on the air tab, which is where you're a little bit stronger. Or we spoke about how this would be gone, right? So then you can like max vet these. This is a good unit. This is a good unit, especially given that it gets all these ones. That's really good. Yeah, paras, engineers, Milan 2s, Milan 1s with more ATGM spam, sure. And then what else can you bring? You could bring more ATGMs again, or you could bring, you know, more paras or something. These aren't so bad. You could bring them at 2 vet. And then you could start vetting all this, right? But yeah, with the losses here, you could bring a 3rd card of supply because team games always tend to be long games, or you could bring let's have a think. Right, so not bringing the minstrels is actually really weird. You want these, and like javelins and gazelles. Is this really helping you? So the comparison here, right, is, yeah, the minstrel, it costs more. It'd be 85 points for the same thing. But you get the same amount at the same vet. It's got way more range. It's got more damage. The motion accuracy is sort of a lie. Don't listen to that. But yeah, the range is quite important against helicopters. So I'd be bringing the minstrels, right? Or you can just absolutely kit out this air tab. You've got 6 points here. That's 3 more planes. Wahey. So you could bring another fighter if you want. This thing's not so bad at the start of the game. It should be 3 per card though, really. The seed isn't great, but you can bring it anyway. And then yeah, the AT one, the other LGBT. There you go, something like that, right? Because like yeah, the RT is weak, right? It's just about synergy with your teammate. But the fact of the matter is, the Dutch player gets better RT. He gets these, which are really good by themselves. And if he has to cover your bases as well, then he can bring this, right? And we spoke about how we'd be getting rid of CVs. You should really get 3 cards of supply on this Dutch div, because you've got lots of heavy tanks, and you've got lots of infantry, and you should have lots of artillery. So yeah, you know, you could cut down something in the Dutch div. We spoke about how you know, you may or may not need this. It's up to you, right? So yeah, he's got enough AA planes here, I guess. So between them, they can sort that out. Trying to think, like you could do with getting rid of this, really. So this is exceptional optics for your tank, but you get 8 of these to begin with. So like, do you really need it? Maybe you do. Like, it is nice to have exceptional optics for your tanks. You just buy this, Shift F, click on your tank, follows your tank around. But yeah, you've got 8 of these, and they have very good optics, and they're also pretty decent with the autocannons and so on. What else? What else? Yeah, so, you know, you could swap this out. You could get a recon helo, but your teammate should be bringing that, right? And then you could sort out this. There you go. Now you're actually, so the team's got basically the same kind of artillery potential, but you're not just buying 8 useless arty pieces that aren't going to do anything. You got to rely a bit on your teammates. You know, you're a team. You should coordinate. This guy gets the better artillery. She should be bringing the artillery. So, you know, it's just an idea, right? But yeah, definitely be getting those 3 cards of supply. And yeah, so 4 CVs in this deck, and there was like 5 in the other one, so that's 9. Quick maths. In regards to like the decks themselves, I mean, I guess I didn't save those, which probably wasn't very smart. But they seem well built, right? You want the, you know, going through the Dutch one, perhaps too many ATGMs here, maybe not. Depends how you play it, I suppose. But yeah, you bring a bunch of these to spam out IFVs, and it's going to be a long game because team games are always long games, so it makes sense to keep them at 1 vet. Nators are alright, I guess, in the M113A1 if you want it. There's no wheeled infantry here. Wheeled, in fact, well, I guess the Genie are. But sometimes, like, so, like, this can be useful, but at the same time, sometimes you want wheeled infantry to get to a place fast. I guess you could use these, but they're only 4 men, and these guys are coming in a helicopter for whatever reason. This only comes in a slow transport. This is only 4 men, right? So I'd be tempted to have this in a truck, because sometimes you just need wheeled infantry to get somewhere faster. I did a guide on support weapons a while ago, and I said the 50 car is the best one. And since then, lots of things have changed, and now this is better. It's better for a bunch of reasons. So, the veterancy, right? You only get 5 of these at 1 vet. You literally get 6 of these at 2 vet. It costs half as much. And the DPS isn't actually half, even though the HE is half, right? Because the accuracy is higher, the DPS is actually not that much worse. So you don't want this really. If you just bring these, there you go, and you'll save lots of points. You could even just bring 2 of these in every position, right? So that was what, 5 at 1 vet. There you go, 8 at 1 vet. Now you can have more, whatever you want. So yeah, in a 1v1 I'd be 2 vetting these, but it's not worth it in a team game because it's going to go on for ages. We spoke about you need 3 cards of supply really to keep your guns firing, to keep your tanks healed, to keep your infantry healed. It's very, very important. So we spoke about getting rid of this, I think, and then using that to get the artillery, which the other guy now doesn't have. And then yeah, this tab all makes sense. Eyehawk, upgraded Gepard Stinger is just very normal. The reason I'm sort of skipping through it is because it's just a well-made deck, so there's not actually that much to talk about. I would say, like, do you need 6 of these? Maybe you do. What else would you even bring? More IFVs. So yeah, let's say you get rid of this, then you could up vet. You could bring this. You could bring it at 2 vet, and then you could start 2 vetting all these because you get 4 more, right? So 2, 4. There you go. Now you've got the same amount, but these are all at 2 vet, and you leave these at 1 vet. Whatever. But maybe you do need 6 TOE2s. We'll see in the game, right? Mortars for smoke is very necessary, but you... So, right. I need to stop banging on my desk. It sounds really bad on the recording. This is a fast transport, so you can get your mortar up fast and you can smoke fast. This is an armoured transport, which is way more useful because when your mortar gets counter-batteried, you load it into this and it doesn't die. So, unless you try to do a rush strat, in which case the wheeled one is better, so you get there faster, this is going to be better, generally. So I'd be bringing this in the YPR 50. Tank tab, so just never bring these tanks at no vet. I understand, oh, it's my best tank, I need 1 more of them. No, you don't, right? Basically, a 0 vet, whatever, will take 7 minutes to go from 0 cohesion back to max cohesion. 7 minutes, right? A 1 vet one will take 3 minutes. So unless you're some sort of mensch who's always going to keep it next to the CV, which many people say they'll do, and then they don't, and also the CV just gets sniped by a bomber or whatever, it's obviously a high priority target, bring it at 1 vet, right? It's literally more than... It's twice as useful, right? It's twice as useful because it recovers in half the time, and so only losing 1 is fine. And then yeah, these are all at 1 vet. This is at no vet because, and I agree with that, because either it's shooting or it's retreating, right? If it's been shot and it's not dead, or there's an ATGM flying towards it, you smoke and you leave, right? So you don't need to be able to take the hits and deal the hits in the same way that you do with tanks and infantry, which survive for a long time on the battlefield. They take hits and they keep fighting, so they need to have that suppression resistance so that they can actually fight. Whereas something like this, it's got no armor, so if it's taking hits, it should be leaving. And then yeah, leopard ones are good for the start of the game and so on. Recon, yeah, these guys are good. A case can be made for special forces benefit more from veterancy, right? But there's just no point because so if this was a special forces transport, you would upvet it because special forces go faster the higher the thing, and if this was a special forces transport, they'd get there super fast, but it's not, which is a good thing because this div's pretty strong, a little too strong in my opinion. And so there's not really much point of vetting these because really you want them just for the start of the game, just so somebody doesn't drive into you with a law, with a vehicle, because it's got exception forward deployed. And then later you want them for the ground surveillance radar, so you just want as many as you can get really. And then, yeah, so always bring two cards of these. This is why I think the div's OP, to tell you the truth. These things are crazy good. In 1v1, in team, it's not so useful, but basically you just put them in pairs, and you just send them down a bunch of roads, and you just kill a bunch of stuff. It's really annoying. And then you get a second card, so you can still keep them with your tanks and stuff for the rest of the game. So that does frustrate me a little. Air tab, so we spoke about this. This is just normal. That's fine. Some absolute goobers, right? I've been going around telling people that this is really good and you should bring it for anti-infantry. They're goobers. Don't listen to them. The ZU-23 or whatever, that's good against infantry. This isn't. It's just a waste of your time. If you want to hurt infantry, bring one of these. There you go, 10 points more. A lot better at it. Or one of these. Wow, same price if you include the transport. It's a lot better at it. Anyway, you don't get helicopters in this div. And then air, so fighter. Yeah, cluster HE. It's just very normal. What I would say is this thing can be quite useful at the start of the game. But in team games, enemy air and ASFs become prevalent quite quickly, so it becomes less useful. But yeah, I would actually prefer this to this. Although, you know, this has a pretty beefy payload. You get three of these in a card and it's 125 points. But I'm 1v1 brained here. This is 1v1 brain thinking. In a team game, you know, the better one's probably a good idea. Because, yeah, the enemy anti-air should be up pretty quickly. Because you're playing a 2v2 on a map that has been played in ranked in 1v1. I mean, I think it's fine for 2v2. But yeah, it's a fuel pod or something. Yeah, it must be. Okay. So that's it for those guys, and they're going up against... Let me check my notes here. Tower Defense Jesus and Biohazard Brado, who are playing 11E and second UK. So it's the same kind of, you know, early game, late game kind of thing, right? So this is the second UK deck. This is the 11E deck. You see some of the similar problems, right? So you gotta coordinate with your team. For starters, I say red, they're all blue. These guys' picks are a lot worse than the other guys' picks. Second UK, incredible 1v1 division. If they were playing Loop on 1v1, Second UK is like one of the best divs. 5e is pretty good as well. Yeah, second UK on Loop is pretty incredible, and it's because you use the helicopters, you've got a lot of mobility. But as the team games get compressed, second UK actually becomes less and less useful. I learned this in a recent 2v2 tournament I played with Axis, where I played second UK every game, and I was like, why am I underperforming here? And it's because it's just a 1v1 div. Yeah, and then 11E is just garbage in general, really. I understand the idea. I've not seen the game yet, but I would assume that he's going to just power drive into that town in the middle, or the town on the right, and just town fight for the whole game. Which can work, I suppose. But basically, these guys aren't that great, and these guys don't have a great late game, so I don't think this is the better picks. And also, this deck's really weird. But first thing is CVs, right? So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these guys have actually thought about it a lot more. So I agree with that. 10 CVs, that's fine between them. But yeah, looking at the draft, like you know, they clearly want to spam Arty and stuff. So let's start with this guy. I think Hilo CVs are garbage. It's just gonna get sniped. Like, where are you gonna put it in a contested zone? So I'd be bringing this really. Because it's got smoke, and you don't need that many CVs because you've got your teammates, and I've got 9 CVs on the team, or if you want loads of CVs, you bring this one. Supply, you want lots of supply if you're going to run lots of RT. Also, the RT situation here is pretty bizarre. If you want to smoke, whatever, but yeah, so I understand, right, bring lots of RT because your teammate doesn't get that much RT, okay. These are just so bad. They're just so bad. Just bring 2 of these. There you go, problem solved. I don't really think you need that many tubes, right? It's kind of hard to manage. And in these bigger team games, something like this is actually really useful. Because you can take out armored CVs and stuff like that. And there's always good targets for this in a longer team game. And, you know, it's going to be a long game if it's a team game, usually. So you need a third card of supply anyway. So, yeah. Where's the second card of arm rifles? Yeah, see, you want two cards of Warrior Milans because they're really good. Um, you don't. Do you really need 20 Lynx rockets? Is that like? Do you need that? Also, that's probably fine actually. This thing can be useful. I think it's a bit under available for 100 points. Basically, it one shots two top armor vehicles. And two shots three top armor vehicles. And, you know, three top armor vehicles are like heavy tanks and stuff. I'm trying to think about what was the enemy's draft? Fourth Dutch and MBAD. So fourth Dutch, most of their stuff's three armor anyway. Two armor's like T-55s basically. Chieftains. Leopard ones. So yeah, you probably don't need this in this matchup. And then yeah, so like air spam, okay, it can work, but this. I think rather than bring in all these rapiers which aren't going to do anything, right? I also don't understand. Like, you can bring it in gazelles, right? And on a big map like Loop, you'd actually be able to sell the gazelle faster than the rover. So it can make sense. In 1v1 you obviously wouldn't do that, but yeah, and then like all this, yeah. So for the sake of 5% accuracy, you just get rid of that. Down about this, get rid of that. Wow, 5 AP, incredible. Third card of supply, and and then you can even go further beyond, right? Do you need 8 of these at 2 vet? What about 9 at no vet? I mean, obviously there's 10% accuracy difference, but what you could get for your money is get rid of that, and then you could get this. But yeah, we wanted to fill this. I would get rid of one of these, and I would get this. And you've got 2 AP now. So where's that going? Oh, there's no foxes. Right, foxes really, really useful on this map because they've got amphibious and Loop's got loads of fairly narrow rivers. So it's actually really useful. So get that. Not sure about this. Like, you need... There just isn't enough recon here, basically. You're going to struggle. So I would be one vet in that. And frankly, I don't think the snipers are that great. But at the very least, like, what's the advantage of up vetting this? It doesn't make it see further. You get 5% more accuracy on the sniper rifle, which they shouldn't be shooting. So, and you'll get stress resistance on your 2 HP squad, which is going to die anyway. So yeah, I'd be down vetting those. I mean, I wouldn't bring this. I'd bring a second card of these. I actually think they're pretty cracked. Because they've got 4 machine guns at the 70 points, and they got recon and everything. AT as well. Light AT. Really not bad. But yeah, this is sort of the bare minimum, I'd say. Tank tab, this is all fair enough, really. I'm not going through this in order. Puma HC1 supply no longer uses fuel. I think the Chinook supply is better for this case because it's both 6,000 supply and a card, right? But you're getting 2,000 supply here for 65 points, whereas this would be 2,000 for 90 points, and you're like, whoa, it might die. But now that you've got 3 cards of supply, right, this should just literally be right at the back, resupplying this. It should literally be one zone behind, resupplying this, and this should be ferrying it to and from the front lines. Unless I don't prefer the Saxon CP in this case. And then, yeah, so a double SAS in Saxon is very necessary. Always bring the Saxon over the Bedford. Some people bring it in the Bedford because they're regarded. Saxon, it's got smoke, it's armoured, it's also faster. It's actually kind of important at the start. Air Mobile Pioneers, Air Mobile, Air Mobile, Air Mobile. I mean, okay. I think this is a massive overkill, right? So you could literally bring... So this is 20, right? You could bring 3 cards at 1 vet and get 21, but whatever. Anyway, you need the second card of Warrior Milans. This is so useful. It's just a really good unit, actually. If you got 3 cards, I'd say bring 3. Saracen Terriers, sure. I mean, the alternative's HSF. I like HSF. Terriers. So the way I use these is I literally just use them to soak up bullets, whereas these guys can actually fight because they're not reservists. But the fact of the matter is this SMG brings them down because they basically, this is like two machine gun, this is like two rifles, so they shoot with the strength of 8 men, and 7.62 assault rifles are worse than 5.56 assault rifles, but 7.62, this is the best LMG in the game. I know it's ridiculous, but it's basically split into magazine fed is better than belt fed, and 7.62 is better than 5.56. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is the way it is. Anyway, it's like two machine guns basically, so two rifles. So it's like they've got 8 rifles because this just isn't doing anything most of the time. And even if it was, it's garbage anyway. And what I would say is like, where are the satchels? What happens if you get to a town? What are you going to do about that? Although, I mean, the division of labor should be 11E takes on all the town stuff and you do all the open stuff, in which case you don't want 2nd UK anyway, because they don't get enough IFVs, which you've not brought anyway, and they don't get enough, like, they don't get max range ATGMs, they don't even get 2650 ATGMs on the ground. So, yeah, it's, you've basically, in your draft, you've picked 2 divs that do the same thing. But yeah, I think this is a much better strat when it comes to the arty spam. And, like, I mean, to be honest, I personally wouldn't be bringing this in lieu of 6 mortars for smoke, because I just like smoking. But, you know, whatever. And, yeah, this can follow these around, in which case you might actually want to swap this out for the Rover. And yeah, so air tab, right, Harriers, okay, HE, sure. You're struggling for fighters, but really the 11E player can sort of bridge that gap, which he's not doing. You need more than 4 fighters on your whole team, right? But yeah, let's look at this. So only 1 card of supply here, which I think is not great. And it comes down to this thing again about, like, listen, your arty just isn't good. 105s are just bad. Just rely on your teammate. He's there for a reason. Get this for self-propelled smoke. Very, very useful self-propelled smoke. And it's forward deployed, so you can do it at the start of the game. Helps you get into the towns at the start, particularly if you're on the bad side. 2 points remaining. You need more than 1 card of fighters between you. Figure something out. Maybe 2nd UK could lose a bomber and bring an extra 2 phantoms. All these bombers and no seed is really weird. The napalm one's useless. Don't bother with that. Get the seed, right? And then you want to hurt people. Right. So this is like your anti-infantry, what have you. You've got anti-infantry here. You've got anti-infantry here. If you want to hurt tanks. You want this, because it's 3 per card, it's got 30 AP, it's a really good card. So you want to fit this in somewhere. Jaguar Cluster's good against tanks. Like, you're going to struggle in this matchup against heavy armor, basically. Although, given that the Dutch player doesn't actually get that many tanks, it's a really weird draft, basically. But yeah, I like this, so get rid of that. And if you're going to be running so much air, you need at least 1 card a seed. Some people prefer this one because it's got 10% more accuracy, but it's got less ECM, and literally this is 3 per card. It makes it so useful. So that's that. And now you can afford your 2nd card of supply, which you're going to need in a team game on a 1v1 map. Here, Paras Marine are better than Legionnaire's Paras. I don't know if anybody explained this. Basically, these guys have a DMR, and these guys don't. And so even though they're resolute, they cost the same, right? Even though they're resolute, the DMR is like 2 machine guns, and the machine gun is like 2 rifles. So that's, on the right here, we've got 3 machine guns, which is 6 rifles, plus 8 is 14, quick maths. And on the left, we've got 11, 9 plus 2. The resolute trait doesn't make up for it. And you get more of them in a card. So, and it seems ridiculous, because this is supposed to be the premier unit of this division. Woohoo, Legionnaires, woohoo. Yeah, no, you don't do that. You just spam these. I know it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. And these guys really seem to not enjoy, like, satchels and stuff. Like, if you want to win a town fight, you need satchels. So I'd be getting rid of, 1 card of these. Downvetting this, getting rid of that. This div needs ATGMs. These can work. I don't like them personally. I prefer the satchels. But they can work. Particularly because they come at 1 vet by default. It's just as soon as they get suppressed, all they do is miss. But they can work. So let's try that. And then, you know, satchels. Or a Milan 2 might be useful, because you've only got Milan 1s here. And... yeah, let's put that in. RT tab, so we spoke about this. Don't bother use your teammate. You're in a team. Your teammate gets the better RT. He should be doing the artillery. You got to rely on your team if you want to win. Divisional labor, specialization. I've been playing too much Broken Arrow. The way they do teamwork in that game is they give you 12 units for the whole game. Well, okay, you start the game with 12 units, including transports. And because of the income scaling, you never get above 20. So you're forced to work with your team because you can just never bring your own stuff. Wow! Anyway, so these are bad because they've got mediocre stealth, so they get spotted very easily. So now we've saved you 7 points, right? VBL Milan in here, so let's say, yeah, I need more Milan. So you could either get this for 55, 3 AP, or you could get this, which has good stealth, very good optics, armored, amphibious. I mean, it is more expensive. It's faster, right? I mean, it's just better. And, you know, you got to pay more, but it is better. So you get that, right? And now you've still got just as many ATGMs. And Paras SAS, really, really useful unit. So this only goes at 90, but the same one with a gun on the top goes at 100 because France isn't allowed to have bad units. So that can be very useful for the start of the game, and, you know, the 50 cal can be useful, etc. So you want these anyway for the town fights. Like, it's kind of weird that these guys didn't bring much of that. Anyway, these snipers, I mean, okay, maybe, whatever. This 4 per card, right? 4 HP, so it dies. This 2 per card, 6 HP, so it could live. 40% ECM can be useful. But the other guy didn't bring any recon healers, so maybe you do need 4 recon healers. AA, so Minstrel, Pamela, okay. It's just fair enough, really. I'd be tempted to bring this for your opener. Especially given that you don't have that many fighters. You need to stop your enemy from contesting your opener by just buying loads of helicopters. This isn't that good, because it only fires once, and then it's got to reload, whereas this is sustained fire, and it'll really mess up those helos. So I actually think this is better. Personal preference, really. Right, if you want forward deployed minstrel, you've got this. Between these two, right, so I need it in a helicopter. Do you really? What you're losing here is, so you'll note that this is 6 availability, and this is 6 availability with 1 vet, which means this guy has 5% more accuracy than the other guy for free, and so, you know, it's just better. And yeah, there you go. I've also seen strats where people buy like 3 or 6 of these at the start. I don't know, man. Helicopter tab, so Gazelle Cannon, Gazelle Hot. This should really have some more in it, I think. These are really good. I really like 2 vet in them, but you know, for the opener in a 1v1, but in a team game you do kind of need like quantity. It matters a lot. Gazelle Hot versus Gazelle Hot 2. I guess if you're against MBAD, Gazelle Hot 1 can make more sense. I prefer the Gazelle Hot 2, but this is cheaper and you get more of them, which means you can spam them out a bit more. And the only army you've got to face, substantial armor that you've got to face, where this would actually make a difference, would be... Can 24 pen one-shot a Leopard 1? Right, so 17 one-shots 3 armor, 18 one-shots 4 armor, 19 one-shots 5 armor, 20 one-shots 6 armor, 21 one-shots 7 armor, and Leopard 1 has like 21 one-shots 7, 22 one-shots 8, 23 one-shots 9, 24 one-shots 10. Yeah, so this would one-shot a Leopard 1, and this wouldn't. And there are Leopard 1s on the enemy team, but only 1 card, so does it really matter? Probably not. Air tab, so we spoke about this. So that's it for the deck reviews. I appreciate that it's like not as like it's just different because it's a team game. I didn't save them, right? I didn't save them. Um, you got to think about it like it's a team game. I can't show them because I didn't save them. It's a team game. Think about your team. Who's good at what? Specialize. Use your advantages as a team. Don't bring 10 million CVs. But yeah, let's get back to the game. Right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about Loop. Loop has a good side and a bad side. Red's on the good side for a few reasons. So let's have a look at Delta. Delta, Red has the advantage of this house, which is very useful, whereas Blue gets some very thin tree lines, and Red gets those as well. So this house is helpful, and in terms of securing Delta, Red gets this, which is very useful, because that means they have the bridge. Although Blue can put fire control over the bridge quite easily by putting somebody here, and shooting them as they cross the bridge. So it's not that big a deal. As for this in the middle, Blue does actually, if they go down the right road, which they haven't done, if they come down this road, these roads, like this SAS is doing, they actually do get here before Red does, I believe. They at least get into the town. I believe they get this building first, assuming everybody has equal speeds and so on. So that is a bit of a boon for Blue, but they don't, Red gets the town, as it were. Red gets this, Red gets this, Red gets most of the town. So I think this is sort of Red favored. Also, Blue used to be able to hide CVs here, and they got rid of it, and now, like, you put somebody here, you can actually see in. So Blue has to hide a CV in here, which isn't a big place to hide CVs, right? I suppose you can take it down here. And on the right, Red gets the town. At the start, Blue gets, like, here when Red gets here, so they just shoot the transports. And Red gets the town, and Blue gets open space. So it's not fantastic in terms of balance. So in terms of, like, Blue strats here, the way to do it is you either go... You basically... You can't, if you go 1-1-1, you're gonna lose because they've got an advantage in all three zones. So you just go hard on two of the zones. So it looks like they're sort of hedging their bets a bit here, but it seems like mostly they're going for Delta Echo. Talked about the matchup, so I think Red has the better draft here. Basically, second UK is a really good 1v1 division, and 11 Easy is a bad division. Second UK, though, in team, suffers from the fact that in longer fights in the open, they lose because they've got Challengers and Rovers and Milans and Lynxes and so on. A couple of bombers, a couple of good bombers. But that's not a heavyweight in the open division. They're basically made for, like, this. But the thing is, 11E is also made for this. And so they've basically... There's too much overlap here. Whereas for Red, MBAD has the... I mean, to be honest, there is a better way to draft this. But basically the Dutch can fight in the open and MBAD can fight in the towns. And that should solve that problem. Because this has a good late game in the open and this is a good late game in sort of infantry spam. So, yeah. Looking at the deployments, nobody's going where they're supposed to be going. So you've got the 11E player fighting in the open, which is absolutely bizarre. This goes at 90, so it's not actually as fast as, say, this, which would go at 100, which is on the wrong road. What is going on there? There's no connecting road here. Just, I guess you know now, but there's no reason to put guys on here. So he's doing the classic 4 group anti-char rush, which you'll have heard all about. So no real, like, open ground units here. Basically, you'd want to be 80 for starters. The second UK player should be fighting in the open, but if you really want to do this, you need a bunch of Milan carriers. So P4 Milan 2 cars, like quite a load of them, couple helicopters to to kill whatever comes over here. Although you'd assume you'd be facing stingers and stuff, so maybe not helicopters, but you need some, like, rover Milans, smoke mortars, so you can smoke off this, so you can get your infantry in, and then you'd basically be spending the whole map trying to smoke off the enemy who outranges you. So it's not great. So we'll see how that goes. Really likes group anti-char. They're not that good against infantry. They're an anti-vehicle squad, so you don't, typically you'd want these in like, you get one of these for every two regular infantry. Yeah. So lots of, really doesn't like vehicles, this guy. Hopefully he doesn't come up against some infantry. Then yeah, there's CV for India Delta. And yeah, so Pamela here. Milan one's Minstrel. In mid, we've got three more Milan ones and a Minstrel. I guess because the second UK player should be bringing the infantry, except the second UK's forward deployed infantry is just SAS. Yeah, I mean, and then he's just walking three SAS into here who shouldn't get here first because the enemy's forward deployment should get here first. And then they've got a Lynx Rocket CV and Rapier FSB1. But you've already got 3 AA, so you don't need that. Really, I mean, where do I start? The second UK player should be over here. And the 11E player should be focusing this. I mean, to be honest, second UK can fight for this as well, right? But basically, they're spreading themselves too thin. They're on the bad side of the map. Pick two places and attack. And if I was these guys, I'd be picking Foxtrot and Echo. Because Echo, 11E Central, just get all the infantry in. Although not this infantry. And here, you get the SAS in at the start, and you get your Warrior Milans set up here. You try and get your stuff around, and you can take this if you really work on it. But basically this should be just abandoned, just like a Milan team there, a vehicle Milan there, maybe a piece. So yeah, bit of an odd one. So like three Terriers fighting the good fight there, but they're gonna arrive after the SAS. So we'll see how far they get, and then two Halarms. Why? The enemy gets forward deployed AA. So, switching to their opponent's deployment, they're doing something a bit weird as well. So you would expect the MBAD player to be fighting in sort of like the middle and in Foxtrot because they would get here first, so they just get all their infantry in here with their forward deployment, right? Set up some ATGMs, and then in middle that's just infantry grind. MBAD does that quite well, and then you'd want the Dutch player in Delta because he can fight in the open ground quite well with his TOW 2 teams, with his Leopard 2s. Whereas instead the Dutch player's going for the town, which can work because 4E gets a lot of infantry, but it is suboptimal. And the MBAD player's going for the open, which is kind of weird. So yeah, we got KCT Vinegars coming over here. So what he's done here. So this is given to the transport, not to the infantry. So he's unloaded, and then he's told his transport to come over here. At which point, the auto cell should be disabled. But if it's not, it'll just come down here and get captured. But I think when you manually move it, the auto cell automatically disables. But yeah, this isn't the infantry doing that. That's the transport. The infantry will just stay there. And then so satchels, stinger, infantry. Leopard 1, Leopard 284, and then, Spag for the left, and the CV. So where were those Leopard 1s going? Okay, they're going on the right, and that Leopard 2's going on the left. Okay. And then, yeah, CMV spam, very important because of how broken they are, although typically you'd want like two on... You want them in pairs, and you want them sort of going down roads where enemy infantry probably isn't going to be. So this is a really good one. So you could literally send all four down here, or you could send two down here and two to here, and then are they amphibious? Oh my god, they are. So that makes it even more annoying. You could send them over here, literally down here and around the back, or you could just put four down here and then split two this way, split two that way, whatever you want. The advantage of being in the forest is that they shred enemy helicopters if they can get in range. But yeah, just parking them here probably isn't going to be too useful. And then two infantry scouts and helicopters. But like MBAD should be focusing this really, but he's not. For some reason, the tank division's fighting in the town and the infantry division's fighting in the open. So I'm not sure about that really. So we got Pathfinders. That's good. Anti-infantry squad. Milan 1. So this then you would want to shift queue the vehicle back to like here or something, wherever this like there can work. Because yeah, this vehicle is armed. 2 forward deployed AA and LSV Milan. Which, I mean, it doesn't really get great sightlines there. Like where would you even put it? I suppose literally like leaving it here is better than sending it here because then it's much closer range. And then a CV, 3 CVs in fact. So yeah, and then on the right we've got Pathfinders, Milan 1, Milan 1, forward deployed AA, and then these Milan things are actually pretty useful, especially given how fast they are. This is the fastest unit in the game, because it's 100, but it's max vet special forces, which makes it significantly faster, like greater than 120, I believe. So yeah, these out at the start, very smart. Stop the enemy coming down this road. They only carry 4 Milan 2s though, so consider opening supply if you're going to be fighting a fight like that, because you're going to run out of ATGMs quite quickly. And for the price of 1 supply car, you can keep all this firing. And then yeah, the Milans make sense. The triple Pathfinders I'm not so sure about, but like this one here, I guess you could send it right around there or something. I guess maybe it makes sense to get somebody in here. But instead of triple Pathfinders, I'd have 1 Pathfinder. And the rest would be this transport with the MBAD infantry that comes with it, because then you're going to get there fast. That is 90 instead of 100, which is why one of them should be Pathfinders, because that's 100. Interesting. Learn something new every day. At the very least, though, this guy should be stopping all enemy infantry coming in, because it's so fast. And then yeah, you'd get a couple paras in, but crucially, you'd also be getting these Milan 1 vehicles, which are going to help you in this open fight. But I prefer this setup to this one, with just a group anti-char spam is very, makes me think. So, that's enough thinking. Let's watch the game. Right, so they're off, and it's time to thank the generous channel joiners, generously joining the channel. Get the names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get members exclusive videos. Best way to support the channel, I'm currently a broke PhD student. I took too long to write the thesis, because I was playing too much Warno. And now my funding's run out, so this is literally paying my bills. So I really do appreciate it. If it wasn't for you guys, the channel would basically end, because I'd have to go move back in with my parents, and then there wouldn't really be much making YouTube videos. It is what you could call a chaotic environment. So this is going about as well as you might expect. He doesn't seem to have noticed yet. His guys are dying. This is really not fantastic. But yeah, that wasn't... I mean, what's he doing? So at least unload this one. You're in range now. Okay. So he's very committed. I can't watch that anymore. Over here, basically the same thing's happening. The Alouettes are going down to the SAS, as you would expect. And these guys, I mean, yeah, he's very committed. Some of you will make it. I mean, not really. Over here, blue got in because red had the wrong guys here. So they didn't contest it with forward deployed infantry, so blue got in, which shouldn't really be happening. The group anti-char are now able to exact their revenge, and they're indeed anti-charring. Watch him take out his own transport there. And now the CMVs are actually useful because somehow this all got through. So these have like really bad stabilizers. That changed from one patch to the next. This is the most recent one. Oh my god, he's swapped it to 105s. And so you want to stop. You definitely don't want to just be running into a guy who's got 2 Appalats. Oh dear. So yeah, another thing you can do is switch off one of these, and then they'll fire 1, and then you switch it back on, and then there'll be ripple firing, do, as opposed to 2 at once, because you don't need 2 at once to kill the CMV. Bit overkill. Over here, like, nothing is going the way it should be. It's all wrong. Don't immediately buy artillery, especially bad artillery like 105s. Please don't do that. This should never have been allowed to happen, because he should be against MBAD. Or at least a couple KCT Verenigas sent into here at the start to stop these guys from getting in. Having said that, they are getting pushed back because blue's not reinforcing this. I'm not actually sure where the second UK's points are going. He doesn't seem to have bought anything new. He's bought a Challenger Mark II for mid. Okay, so, I mean, really at this point, this is the 11E player's problem, and this is the second UK's player's problem. So this is not a good pick here. He needed some warriors. Basically, right, you want to take an objective. You can either face smack each other for the whole game and die, or you can try and cut the reinforcements. So Mr. Fender here has got the right idea. You don't want these too close to each other because one missile can hurt both. But yeah, if you cut off the reinforcements, which is a lot easier to do when you're on red side, you're winning. Whereas blue, as we spoke about in the deployment, which you didn't skip, should really be should have had more of a mech force and tried to get around to here. Alternatively, you can try and get around to here and just stop red reinforcing this. But instead, he hedged his bets. Right, like most of these units are actually. I keep saying blue, the second UK players' units, whereas the 11E player was sort of like doing two things and just died everywhere, and now he's got 3 105s, and you're about to see how useful 105s are. They're not very useful. Just get the other player to do the killing. That's at no vet, as we spoke about in the deck review, so look, it's routing, and it's showing its side armor, and this almost killed it. So look, it's incredible. Wow. Wow, did you see how it landed right in the same building block he was in and didn't do anything? That's the power of 105mm artillery in this game. Unlike in Broken Arrow, where it actually has a much bigger splash. It's actually a much better artillery interaction in that game. They compress the ranges a lot, which means that they can actually be counter-batteried, because this would actually have to be here, and they made the aim times lower and made them more lethal. But they have to be much closer to the front line so they can be killed more easily. I think there's a much better way of doing things, actually, but... Anyway, that is just sort of a pointless endeavour. Like, you got a unit, but what was that for? So, when you buy a bomber, this is 1 minute's income. You got to think, what am I accomplishing with this bombing run? What is the advantage of this over buying units? So right now, blue's losing in middle. So instead of buying that, he could have had these and had them over here, right? Could have got like a saggy. Could have tried to take this maybe, push up here. Or alternatively, because he's losing here, he could have used the plane here. But instead, like, this is already lost. You've lost that. And so there's no point in bombing one target there. This was also just not, like, this was a whole minute's income just on RT, and it's not doing anything. Neither player going for the church. Religious people can see further than atheists. So, you know, especially if, like, these guys, you should be trying to get in there so you can see. And, yeah, I mean, there are 2 CVs in here, so that's fair enough. You can, so he's turned off the cover on this, which is good. And then you can literally hide it right behind this building if you want, so that's smart. And, yeah, so over here, I mean, you'd want genies typically, like this, just sending these IF, they're all just going to die to the SAS, which they're currently doing. These shouldn't both be in the same building. And yeah, like, so what has this accomplished? Do you know what I mean? Would have been much better off getting some warriors. Warrior IFVs, starts, this could be here, right? Get some warrior IFVs, and, you know, use your space. Attack. Like, this should be moving up, this should be moving up. These don't have AT, so this can actually bully them if he knows about that. Eventually these SAS will go down to this because there's just too many of them. But he's buying the wrong things, right? You want to... In this fight, you want warrior spam easily, because the warriors will beat the YP thingies, which are all dead now anyway. And the chain guns on the warriors, the autocannons, will beat the infantry. Whereas this is for shooting... This is for shooting enemy tanks, I guess, and enemy IFVs. But, like, this is just a waste, right? And look, it's all dying. Because he sold all the transports. So, yeah, that it doesn't make too much sense. It doesn't make too much sense. As we spoke about in the deck review, the 11 easy player just shouldn't have these units. The second UK player should be doing the RTing. And even then, now it's not a good time to buy more than one RT piece. Because you're losing on the front lines. And look at this, he's got 6 of these trying to kill this, and it's fine. He's just walking it off. So they're not good. He's even got them at 2 vet. It's not doing anything. So yeah, don't bring 105 artillery, it's just garbage. If you can avoid it. If you're playing airborne in 1v1, you're kind of forced to. But yeah, it's just not good. Anyway, the SAS, they're trying to run. You'd want some smoke here, really, like a smoke mortar, I think. But neither of these players brought a smoke mortar, so that's not going to be happening. This was kind of weird as well. Like, so you'd want one VBL Milan here, one Minstrel behind it, and then, yeah, you can send stuff through here if you want. But really, all of this would have been better up here, because this is where you can actually fight with this 11E division. Because he's got this airborne division, and the strengths of the airborne division, we've got more 105s here. The strengths of the airborne division are your infantry's really good. Yeah. So, you know, when players haven't had that many games, this happens a lot, where they're just like, okay, it's time to buy the R2. And they lose all their momentum, right? And they just sit there artillery. So, like, blue especially is losing. You don't swap into artillery when you're losing. You might be forced to buy, like, one piece because there's ATGM positions that you need to take care of to take a zone. But otherwise, all you've done is reinforced your own failure here. Because now, you know, look what's coming to fight in the mid. You know, a couple units, but... Right, so they got that. And this will probably make it out. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, you know, an Eyehawk for red would be useful. Eyehawk back here. Because, yeah, one Eyehawk in the middle basically can usually shoot whoever. But yeah, all that's happened here is failure has been reinforced, right? So now you've just got 4 arty pieces backing up a graveyard, everybody's dead. So if they'd just bought more infantry, more warriors really, on this side it should have just been about the warriors and the fox, which he didn't put in his deck. But yeah, you should have a fox going around here. It's amphibious as well, you can get across there, whatever. And, you know, you see the power of the 105s, you know? This is an unarmoured supply truck. Wow. Wow. So that's the biggest learning, really, and we spoke about this in the deck review. And, you know, I don't watch the games before doing the deck review. Do the deck review first. Because, you know, there's no point, like, spoiling it, right, for myself. But I was right, wasn't I? 105s are garbage. These are also not good. The MBAD player shouldn't be doing this. The Dutch players here, you should have brought a bit more RT. This, click it, shift F, click on these, right? The MBAD player, you know, your 105s should just be mortars for smoke, so you can get into funnier places. But really, if the MBAD player had not bought these 4, and had instead just bought a bunch more infantry much earlier, he'd have taken this by now. Couple scimitars, right? And, you know, you come up against this, you smoke it, with your maybe your 1 artillery piece, or you just buy plane, whatever, just kill it. Yeah, so a bit of a weird one. Marina's going down there, and so now they're air spamming, which was sort of their divisional design. Bit of a those are 2 different people. They're both bombing the same target there, so a bit of a miscommunication. And yeah, look, warriors doing things. He needs recon though, which he's only got 2 cards of recon in his deck, and they were both vetted, so that's not fantastic really. But yeah, this isn't what it's about. They just let the Dutch player do it. He's got the better arty. He play as a team. So yeah, they're just dueling each other with these pea shooters. As you can see, it's doing literally nothing. They're too far away anyway. I believe this one is better because it's got more range. Like, this probably can't even shoot back. Anyway, so that was... I mean, it's surviving. It might die now, actually. No, it will survive, yeah, because that's 4 HP. But, like... Yeah, if I was Biohazard Brado, I'd be focusing here. And if I was TD Jesus, I'd be focusing here. Oh, well, actually, I mean, at this point, this is basically lost, so you should both focus on this to take this to stop the tick. So this is a +2. It would neutralize if you take this. These are only +1s. So yeah, you double team it into here, you get that, and then you say, okay, where should we go next? Well, obviously we can see, and this has more in it than that, but this is usually a better place to attack. Because this is just a nice big open field, which is kind of hard to do anything with, whereas this, at least you can come around here. And if you've taken this, you can get to here, you can start pressuring over here, force them to reinforce this, and then you go for this across the bridge. Or you just, you know, hit it in the front while you're pressuring it from the sides. But instead, you know, there's a lot of people sat around not doing anything, but this just so much momentum has been lost, especially on the blue side, because they bought 6. They bought 10, actually. There's 4 more here, and they've sold all the transports, so they can all get counter-batteried. They're not even firing. Very sad. And now he's gonna helicopter spam it. But yeah, I suppose there's something quite therapeutic about watching these pea shooters fire. I mean, sort of, they look cool, I guess. It's just a shame that artillery... I would really just class this unit as a noob trap, unless you're smoking with it. Or if you know, if you're in a 1v1 with MBAD, you don't really have a choice. You have to bring a card of these. But bringing 2 cards of them so you can be the arty guy as MBAD is just not gonna work. These aren't in buildings, so they're losing. Yeah, so the Dutch player, he's got, you know, he's got CV for. I mean, he's got one here, but sure. And now they're gonna fire faster, and you should be moving them after every salvo so they don't get counter batteried. But he's not doing that. Yeah. So I think Red are a little bit more clued in here. They are on the good side. I mean, but generally their game plan, their draft is a little bit better. Their game plan's a bit better here. And yeah, I mean these 105s, they're just so sad. They don't do anything. So more infantry. And at least the 11E players sort of realise now. But like, what is the point of this? For the next 5 minutes, they're not doing anything. And what happens once you get to here? It's just infantry. There's no armour support or anything. You get a couple saggies up to here, like a recon one. You can start hitting them, right? You can start hitting them from the sides. Get some smoke on the go, maybe. But it's always going to be an uphill battle as 11E to fight in the open. But just having 9 chasseurs paras in a forest isn't going to do anything for you. It's just a waste of time. You've got to think about it like an economist. This concept of opportunity cost, right? So if I buy something, right, so I get 260 points a minute, the enemy gets 260 points a minute. I need to get more out of my money than my enemy does, or he is going to win. So how do I get the most out of my money? Well, I should spend it on something that I use. If I buy something and I don't use it, I might as well have not bought it. I mean, that's how economists think, and they're all miserable gits, but there is truth to it. Like, so this, they haven't fired since they were purchased. So for that time, it's as if your enemy had 2 more minutes income than you. Same here. Your enemy now has 4 more minutes income than you. What's going to happen? Your enemy now has 6 more minutes income than you. Right? Do you see what I'm getting at? So, you know, your enemy now has 7 more minutes income than you. Obviously, this is the sort of thing you sort of have to build up before you attack, but he's literally bought all of them that are in his deck, as we know from the deck review. So, yeah, it's think about it like an economist. Obviously, there's a sort of, you know, does that suck all the fun out of the game? Maybe. I find losing to be not very fun. But yeah, I hope you've at least learned something about 105mm artillery. And just, yeah, if you buy something it's not doing anything, and if your enemy buys something and it is doing something, then that's just a huge force multiplier. And you'll see when the top players play, all their stuff's working all the time. I try and do this. I'm not perfect at it. There's always room for improvement. But yeah, despite their poor investments, Blue is actually winning in the middle, because Red just sort of clumped up a bunch of guys here and they all died. So it's pretty rough. Would be interesting to see if these actually... Oh, they fired a salvo. Interesting. And yeah, really, these are the things that should be counter batterying, and that... Like, you click it, Shift, F, click this, it'll follow it around. And then these, right, Shift, T, left click. With Shift still held, F, left click. T, left click. F, left click. And they'll just move around. And you won't have to worry about it, and this will follow them. And you just put a supply where it's going, and then it will resupply while it's doing it. And that's the advantage of self-propelled artillery. You just never get counter-batteried if you do that. As for these guys, they're getting counter battery, but because it's 105mm counter battery, it's not really doing a whole lot. Oh my god, he's bought even more. So this is actually a more useful investment than all those 105s, because you can use this to sort of sweep around in a big blob, I guess. Typically, you'd want a bit more of a combined force, so that you need more infantry in middle because you've lost all your infantry middle, that sort of thing. But yeah, the 105s, I will show you the kill list at the end. They'll have got like one thing. They won't have paid for themselves in the whole game. And yeah, this guy can't see that, so he needs to smoke, really. Okay. And yeah, so this is the church. They can see further, but because this isn't recon, he can't actually see that. So he needs a recon unit in there. He needs to buy some recon. Yeah, so mortars purchased now. Like, honestly, if you want to pepper a town... Sorry, I got a very itchy nose. The advantage of these is that they get corrected shot if they have recon nearby. Do you see these white circles here? If this was overlapping this, the dispersion on this would be very, very, very low. And then you'd be able to, like, point blank the exact building they're in. You find that out by watching a separate video. I can just explain it now. You press C, you get LOS tool, right? You hover over this building block. Do you see how it snaps to an area? It's snapping to this building. So that's the building within the block that you target with your direct, your corrected cluster mortars. So here we go, Gazelle cannon spam. He didn't bring any recon with it, so it can't see this thing as it kills him. Napalm Jaguar, spoke about that. They're not very good, as you can see. That might die, actually. No, who am I kidding? Yeah, they didn't bring seed, so they can't cut down any of this AA. So that they're air spamming without seed. There's Lix rockets running into AA. And so now what you would do is ping all the AA positions, and you would hit those. And you only send one forwards or two, and just see what shoots them and run them back. And doing it without recon means you can't see something like this, even though it's shooting at you, because it's got exceptional stealth. It's in a building. It's pretty hard to spot. Also, if you bomb the middle of the map, you're going to drag over your things around here, and they're going to get hit by the AA in the middle and on the sides. So, right now, they're attacking here. Great. Bomb over here, and then you're only exposing yourself to the AA that's here, as opposed to all of it. This could be... Like, the Eyehawks, really there should be 3 Eyehawks up at this point, because there's been so much enemy air. There should definitely be an Eyehawk here. This one obviously should have ammo. And don't sell the transports. Check that out. Don't sell the transports, because after they fire you should be moving them, because the enemy should be counter-batterying them, but they're not. So, yeah. Warno's one of those games, you can play it for 2,500 hours and still not be that good, which is me, basically. And, yeah, so this, you don't want them in the town, because these guys have Appalachian and they're just going to kill them all. You want them going around the side where the infantry AT can't really hurt them, because this is obviously going to go really badly. So, plenty to think about. Obviously, when you move up the javelins, you need to deal with these before these can really go anywhere, because they're just getting shot. Still +2 to red. So yeah, these are probably doing more damage than all these are. But it's just a misallocation of resources. If you want arty, the Dutch player should be doing that. So he should have, if you really want arty, he should be bringing 2 extra cards of paladins. And the same on the blue side. If you want arty, the 11E player shouldn't be buying any. The second UK player should just be buying more. He's not really using them. And he should be buying the heavier pieces, really, and he should be buying that M270 in a 2v2. You get a lot of value out of it, because, like, so for example, this Sultan, when it was there, M270 would kill that. Whereas the 105s obviously aren't going to do anything. Yeah. So the front, it's basically stabilized, right? I mean, Red's got this advantage here, and Blue aren't really concentrating their forces to deal with this. Uh, you know, they should both attack one place, really. Like, they've actually almost got this. If 8 tower defense Jesus hadn't been attacking this, and he'd gone for this instead, they would have taken this, stopped the tick, and then they can both take this. And, you know, you gotta, if you're playing a team game, specifically, like, these guys must all know each other. So you gotta work with your friends. I mean, maybe you don't like them very much, but you gotta work together, because that's how you win. So the best team players work together. So there's some tournaments. They were a long time ago now, over a year ago, where I played with Team and Plays, and we were like, you know, wow, it's Hippie and Team and Plays, and this was back when, like, I was playing even more than I do now, so I was even better. Obviously, you know, it's not easy to become better than world number 1, but I was. You gotta trust me on this. And yeah, so we lost constantly. I think we finished 4th, actually. We finished 3rd once and 4th once. And the games are all on the channel if you go on the live tab and scroll far back enough. But basically, we got out. We lost games to teams who, on an individual level, they were worse than us. But we just didn't work well together as a team. I'd play my lane. He'd play his lane. He has a very defensive way of playing. I have a very offensive way of playing. And we just didn't synergize. And so we were losing games which we should have been winning. And it's because we didn't work together as a team. And I see a lot of that here. This man driving into that, I think. And yeah, like, this isn't going to work. Imagine if all this stuff was here. He'd have taken it. It'd all be gone, right? You'll note that Red are doing the team play a bit more here, you know? You know, this is Dutch units, and there are some MBAD units here, although I think it was mainly that Scorpion blob who all died, but you know, there's a mix of units here. Yeah, there's Dutch, there's MBADs, right? These are all the MBAD ones. So there's teamwork, whereas this is, you know, okay, so there are 2 units here from 2nd UK, but it's the 11E player, and the 11E player is trying to be in 2 places at once. And the 2nd UK player, at the start when he got in here, I was like, focus this, because like, you're winning. But once it became clear that it wasn't working out, you've got to switch it up. You can't just keep doing the same thing. You know, it's that old motivational phrase. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. Wow, very deep, very deep. And, you know, if you buy... Sun Tzu once said, if you buy 4 artillery pieces, they should be shooting all the time, and you should move them after every shot. And that's why you bring the self-propelled ones instead, because even though they're worse value for money, they don't die to counter battery, and you don't have to micro them as much. So there you go, Mega Mortar there, apparently. I mean, that will have had the corrected shot, I suppose, so it's doing something. And here we go, so this is the airborne attack. There's no recon. There is some artillery preparation, whatever was left, I guess. Surprised it's taken so long for us to see these VADs. They're really good anti-infantry. Would have worked well in the middle. And so now he's, yeah, he's just attack moving. No recon, so we can't see this. Couldn't shoot it back even if he wanted to, because, you see the power of artillery splash. Wow, it's doing loads. So artillery in Warno is all about just sniping things, and like, you know, so what happens when you get there? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, lots of things to think about. Like, these are 2 clumped up. 1 bomber is going to kill them all. Lots of things to think. At least these are firing though. That's cool. And that went about as well as you might expect. You would have been much better off buying Saggies and a recon Saggy in the Saggies, or a VBL Milan or whatever. Use the RT on the ATGM positions rather than just, you know, like, what was the point of that? They don't kill the infantry, so what kills the infantry? These guys, but They're all the way back here. But it's always an uphill battle to do that as 11E. So now we've got more helicopters, and he's clumped them all up. So one hit damages multiple, one spag damages multiple. Yeah, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. It actually looks very pretty, but you hate to see it. And in the middle of these VADs, yeah. But, you know, it's just about... So like, it's difficult to do this because you've got to think very actively about it, and it takes a lot of practice. But just buying 8 of one thing and then 8 of the next thing, which is what I've basically seen from every player in this game, it is suboptimal, right? Because, yeah, you buy all the infantry, okay, and then you buy all the tanks because you need tanks. Well, the infantry's dead now. Because they didn't have any armored support. So you know, you got to get into that habit of what should I spend my points on? 1 infantry, 1 IFV, you know, 1 mortar, 1 supply, instead of just buying 8 of one thing, 8 of one thing. Like, look, you can just see it happening over and over and over again. They're all doing it, right? All these showed up at once, and we have the like big conga lines here of armor and so on. So that's something to work on. But, you know, the point of this is to improve, right? And I think most players do this. So, you know, you always get some guy in chat who's like, well, this was very boring for me because I'm, you know, the best. But I actually think these videos on aggregate are probably more useful for the community than, you know, watching me play against Homelander for the 15th time, which might be more entertaining. But these are mistakes that everybody's making. We spoke a lot about this church as well. Like, there should be a recon in here. Somebody should be trying to... This is basically the most important part of this town is this. And so, frankly, this should have been destroyed by now because there should have been so many people going in there that the artillery kills it. But yeah, those snipers, right? We know Blue has 2 cards of snipers from the deck review that we didn't skip. Turn the shooting off, put them in there. Nobody'd see them, hopefully. But yeah, this has been pretty distressing. So here you go, you know, MBAD in the open, using the autocannons to kill the infantry. It's all very sensible. And look at this. Because the Dutch player is spread across 2 zones and the MBAD player is spread across 2 zones, the second UK player's actually managed to get in here. It's an uphill battle because he's on the bad side and he's been taking terrible trades, so he's just massively outnumbered, but he did get in. Imagine if instead he'd sort of sacked this off because it's a lost cause and fought here where it's a bit more even because Blue's in the town, Red's in the town, you know? Imagine if they'd both focused their efforts on sweeping this, and they got this, and then the tick would have stopped ages ago, and then they could say, well, take your pick. Do you want to go over here? Do you want to go over here? Let's, you know, what you can do sometimes is do a feint. You actually pretend to attack over here. What you do is you get all your self-propelled artillery, and you just start massively smoking it, and you send a couple of units forwards, and then you actually attack over here. But you know, to be honest, that doesn't really work that well, because usually... you know, people just leave their units where they are. So this is all still going to be here if you attack over here. You might as well just use the artillery to hit over here and just actually attack over here. But yeah, there's also that thing about synchronization. If you're just going to drip feed into a zone for 40 minutes, then you're just going to keep dying and losing. Whereas, you know, you switch it up. Oh, we weren't expecting an attack here of such magnitude, whatever. Concentration of forces, etc. And, you know, these haven't moved all game, but they don't have to because nobody's counter-batterying them. Same with this, right? The only guy counter-batterying is the guy with the 105s, which is not going to work. So, really, this guy should have been counter-batterying. He would have killed all this. Not that it's really doing anything. These are a bit scary. Sort of same with the air as well. Like, we've seen Blue just buy a bomber, send it in, it dies. Buy a bomber, send it in, it dies. There was one thing here where they sent 3 in at once, and it worked. So, you know, you blob your air in the same way that you blob your conventional forces, obviously not too close together, but you want to send them all out at once. And Red's finally starting to use the sides here. We goes back to that original point about if you just walk into your enemy for the whole game, it's probably not going to go very well. Whereas you know, this is an unexplored territory. Nobody's been doing anything here. So there you go. He's got his AAA, he's got his infantry. You know, could have sent some scimitars down there. It would have been a bit faster. See what's up here. You know, try and spread out a bit, right? Stops the RE, stops the airplanes. And like we saw before, all those scimitars going through the town isn't fantastic, really. But, you know, I don't want to seem like I'm just hating. I want people to improve, but you gotta... Oh, that's cool. You gotta... like, here you go, mobility, doing something. It's all dead, let's attack. Makes sense. Yeah, typically you'd want a bit of recon first, like this. But, or even just a recon helo. I guess the recon helos here are like the chancellors, which are quite good. Haven't they got the... They've got the ATGM on them, haven't they? So you probably don't want to waste those. But, yeah. So look, 2 things at once to overwhelm enemy AA. Not that there's anything here, but, you know. But yeah, the endless feeding of blue is really beginning to show. They just don't have any units left. So they buy some more artillery. Yeah. A lot of it's just practice, and, you know, I don't do everything I advise people to do all the time, because it is very, very difficult in the heat of the moment to withdraw units, you know, to say, oh, this front line, I'm getting pushed back, but I need to withdraw guys and attack on the right, you know. It's difficult to make that decision because the enemy is in front of you and, you know, your guys are dying and you want to support them, so you buy the plane or whatever. And yeah, you know, it takes practice, and it's a question of, well, do you want to practice a video game? I mean, you basically just get better with targeted kind of, like, so, you know, on this channel, if you get a tier 4 channel membership, you can submit 1 of your games per month to be cast per calendar month. And it's not cheap, because it used to be cheap, and I got too many people doing it, and it just, the whole channel just became me casting games. But from this game, if all 4 players of this game watched this game, I think they would all get a lot better. And then, you know, and then next month or whatever, in a few months, whatever, you can cancel it, whatever, you do it again. But I think there's a lot of learnings here. I can't remember everything I've said, but it's a lot to do with teamwork, actually working with your team. Division of labor, right? You want 1 armored div, 1 airborne div can work, but really it tends to be like 1 armored div, 1 sort of infantry div. So like 2nd UK and then 3rd armored, right? Would actually work a lot better these days, because 1 airborne, 1 armored, it was the old way of doing it. And it can still work, but the airborne divs are all kind of weak now. And people have figured out, well, you don't actually... That's very pretty, all the shells in the water. I like the farting sound this makes. Did you know this should have 2 MGs? But on the model, they didn't put the hull MG. And so they just removed it off this, and then made it 5 points cheaper. And then next patch, they made it 5 points more expensive again. I'm so glad he's gone. Anyway. So a lot of it is about team play and working with your team. If you're going to play a team game, and obviously if you submit a 1v1, then I'll talk more about 1v1 strats. But really here, Red worked better as a team. Even though there were sort of weird things where really the MBAD player should have been here and the armored player should have been here. But they both sent units to the danger zones, right, which was basically just here. And that helps. But yeah, don't be buying loads of 105 artillery, just especially if you're playing with somebody you know, and frankly, never play team games. If you can avoid it, don't play team games with random people. It's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, I appreciate that not everybody, including myself actually, you know, you've not got time, and, you know, you've had a long day at work, and you don't really want to talk to that friend who keeps trying to sell you on his weird business proposal. But, you know, you're just going to have a better time if you can coordinate with somebody. And I've been playing a lot of Broken Arrow, and in that game, you absolutely you cannot play that game by yourself. You cannot play that game by yourself and have fun, unless you literally don't care about winning or KD or anything at all. That game, you just don't get enough units to have a combined arms army. You get like a maximum of 20 units. You'll notice at this point in the game, the MBAD player has like at least 50 units. This doesn't happen in Broken Arrow for a variety of reasons, but mainly it's because the game taxes you for the more units you have. And it's the same with the Dutch player, right? Look how many units you get. How cool is that? You can actually play the game. But in that game, you get like at the start you'll get 12 units, including transports, and that will grow to about 20, and it'll stay there. And so you can't oh, I need to attack, so I need deep reserves and I need loads of AA because all the teammates are going to pile into me, and so I need those deep reserves, I need that AA, I need that recon, I need those helis. You can't do it because you just can't afford it, and you'll never be able to afford it because of the income scaling. So that game forces team play by just making you miserable. So one way of doing it, I guess. I'm convinced it's more for technical reasons. I am absolutely convinced because that game runs like crap, and I would assume it would run a lot more crappy if you had twice as many units on the field. So I think it's for technical reasons first, and they've just tried to make it work. I really do get that impression as an aspiring game developer. Maybe I'm just wrong. I mean, obviously, if you ask them, they'll say I'm wrong because nobody would ever admit to that. Anyway, this is very Jova. I'm surprised they're not surrendering here. But it looks like now the question is, can these guys close out the game before the 40-minute mark? If he fast moves this, he might be able to get in, but he's chosen a regular move order, so it's not actually getting that road speed bonus there. There are, these guys could, I guess, just sort of YOLO in. This could go over here, I suppose. So it will get in. But yeah, to recap, if you're still here, what have I been talking about? Don't bring 105 artillery pieces except for smoke in 1v1. In team games, just don't bring them at all, unless you absolutely insist on playing by yourself without your friends, in which case, yeah, bring a couple and then accept that they're just going to be crap, but you don't have a better option. So yeah, rely on the other player with the heavy RT to bring the heavy RT. If you buy something, use it. Don't buy 8 of one thing at once. You don't need 13 CVs across 2 guys if you're playing on a 1v1 map. 11E is not a good division. Play 5E instead. If you want French, whatever, 5E. And yeah, Broken Arrow, something about Broken Arrow. Don't clump your guys up too much because one bomber kills them all. Move your AA after it shoots. Counter battery the enemy's AA after it shoots. Use the pings, right? You see him shooting, ping, 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 right? It is hard to spot the stinger trails, especially because you need to know exactly, like, is it this one or this one? If you see it come out, it is kind of hard to see it. In the deck review, the second UK player could have done with bringing the M270, over specialization in air without having any seed. And there you go. So yeah, that was a pretty convincing W. So we've got Fender Strat here with 361 games. Nightfox with 168 games, Tower Defense Jesus with 338 games, and Biohazard Brado with 46 games. So, there's room for improvement, but I think that's what it's all about, really. Obviously, it's not great when you check the comments and there's some guy like, oh, well, I have 3,000 1v1 games and I would beat these guys. Well, yeah, you probably would, but they probably have touched more grass than you if you have 3,000 1v1 games. And I include myself in that. But yeah, work with your team. You're a team. Act like one. GG.